Well, welcome to another Workshop Wednesday brought to you by schoolofbookkeeping.com. I'm, as always, Dan DeLong, and joined me by my partner in crime, Carrie. Yes, we are in uniform.
I always have to point out that because you won't believe what happens at 1 o'clock Eastern time. I'm doing cartwheels trying to make sure I have the proper uniform on so you know who we are and where we're from.
Right. Carrie wears many hats and many shirts. So sometimes she just needs to
Yeah, no,
peel
that's
them
not
off.
in this episode, so don't get excited.
Right, and we are joined today. I'm super excited to have Mark Corum joining us here today to talk a little bit about his tool. I don't want to. That sounded weird. I'm sorry.
No,
Sorry about
Well,
it is
extension.
right.
No, we don't want to talk about.
This is going sideways fast.
Yeah,
Mark is really popular in the ProAdvisor community, so we're very excited to have him join us so we can share his
Yeah, browser extension is fine. You know, we can have an extra episode afterwards.
We need to get vocabulary cheat sheet words. So it adds on, and he's going to explain how this can actually make you is this useful for end users or pro advisors or both?
It's definitely most useful for pro advisors, but it is designed so that even end users can use it, and well, at least for the free version, end users can use it effectively.
Yeah,
awesome.
And that's what we're going to focus on today is really the free side of things, and then super excited. Next week we'll have Hector joining us, Hector Garcia, along with Mark to talk about the pro version, right? So. Talk a little bit about first how RightTool came to be, Mark. So let's kind of unpack that.
Yeah. So when I was doing bookkeeping, I think it was 4 or 5 years ago at this point. One of the things I found frustrating was when I would go to do something in QuickBooks and there would be some kind of feature that I kind of really needed, but I would look online and it would take me to a forum post that had like a 4-year long history where somebody was asking for a feature and it still hadn't been developed yet. And I was like, once I actually learned how to develop, because after a while I kind of got burnt out on the bookkeeping side of things. So I learned development. And then once I came back to QuickBooks, I was like, you know what? I should do something with this to fix my own problems. Because I think that it's something people would really appreciate. And yeah, so I was tired with dealing with Dan. And so I decided to just make my own thing to go past it. And me and my developer partner at the time were like, you know what we should do is we should make this a Chrome extension. And the light bulb just really went off at that point where we're like, oh yeah, we can actually make all of these enhancements inside of QuickBooks itself. And from there, we worked on a tool called MonkBe that eventually got noticed by Hector Garcia, as you guys all know. And he was like, hey, I love your idea and I have my own idea. And could we merge those two things together and create something that we ended up calling RightTool after much debate? Hector loved the pun and the actual fact that it lined up correctly with what it did.
Right. And it's actually on the right side.
It is on the right side.
That would be ironic if it was actually on the left.
Was that planned? It's like tangled
yes.
up in code here.
We knew it was going to be a right side sidebar from the very beginning. We didn't know what the name was going to be, but we knew that the right side sidebar was like Hector's big idea.
Yeah.
To make it similar to QuickBooks. Well, not the fact that the sidebar is on the right, but to make a sidebar that's similar to QuickBooks Desktop on the right side.
Okay. Since the QBO stuff is all on the left, at least it's not all, tangled up in what's there. Their buttons.
Yeah, that was kind of the important part of it, is that he was like, well, we don't want to step on into its toes.
Yeah,
we try our best to not step on the toes of Intuit whenever we're doing anything. Like we respect the relationship, to be very clear. Sometimes I like to poke fun at them, but that's just my way of showing affection, is by poking
Yeah.
fun.
Right. We all do too. So
So this is a really good. I think this is pretty awesome that Carrie really hasn't seen it yet, right? So this is almost like a blind reaction
yes.
as we kind of unpack and talk about what RightTool, the free version, is available to do. But I mean, that's a great setup, right? As far as like, because one thing that accountants love is change, right? It's and it's a constant whack-a-mole sometimes when it comes to QuickBooks Online of like, okay, well, banking is now called transactions for some of my clients, or or this showed up that other clients don't have, or business view versus accountant view. I mean, it's totally maddening, I guess is probably the nicest way to put it. When the navigation changes, and so RightTool kind of funnels all that into an easier usable experience, right, Mark?
Yeah, I mean, it's going to change a little bit, but the core features of it, like, it's only going to change if we add stuff to it. It's never going to be like so reworked that it goes like, wait a minute, what am I looking at now? So yeah, it's a way to kind of add a little bit of stability to how your sidebar actually looks and works.
Right. So let me go ahead and share your screen since you were sharing ahead of time. So let's kind of talk about what it is, how to get it, how to activate it, and those types of things, and then we'll dive in a little bit to what it actually can do.
Yeah. So first of all, if you want to get it, it's easy it's literally just go to righttool.app/free, and that takes you to this extension page. And from here, if you're in Chrome, you can just add to Chrome. If you're in Microsoft Edge, or I think basically any other browser, there'll be a little thing up top that says, are you sure you want to be able to download from other stores outside of like the Microsoft store? And then you have to click that first. But then once you do, you can click add to Chrome, and it does ask for permissions. It's just for QuickBooks and for our own website so that you can easily confirm your login if you're a pro user.
Does it work with Safari?
It does not work with Safari. Safari and Firefox are the only browsers that I know of that it can be a little bit weird with. I know Safari it can't download. Firefox it can download, but I don't know if it's got everything in there that if everything works correctly.
I'm a heavy Chrome user, but I thought I'd ask that just in case. And what is the preferred browser for QBO? Is it Chrome?
Or I think Chrome and Edge are both fine. When I say Edge, it's the new Edge. I'm going to put new in quotation marks because it's been out for a little while, and they decided not to name it a different name than its old browser because that's what Microsoft felt like doing.
Yeah. So just from an Intuit perspective, of since I was actually on the other side of the badge, all of the developers are developing in Chrome. They will do all of their testing and those types of things and development of new features of QuickBooks Online in Chrome. So, and then once they have a feature, then it's browser tested for the other browsers to make sure it's supported. So that's kind of where this whole concept or idea of Chrome as a preferred browser for QBO, simply because all the developers tend to start there and then spider out to the other ones as far as the support is quality testing of QuickBooks Online. So ideally QBO, Chrome, because it's developed on Chrome.
Yeah, fair enough. But yeah. And then once you're on this page, if you want to kind of get like the absolute shortest bare minimum like thing to tell you what exactly RightTool does and like all the important key things to hit, we have a video right there on the actual extension page that's pretty quick. and that is as short as I could get it to actually go over like the really important bits. So something that might be helpful for you if you're just getting started. But yeah, once you add this extension, you just go into QuickBooks, and either if you're already in it, you can refresh, or if you're not already in it, go to QuickBooks. And once your page loads, your sidebar will be right here on the right side with no extra additional work to be done.
And does it? I mean, I noticed it kind of like pushed over the left navigator bar as kind of like making room for itself. Is that?
Let's hide the stuff that we don't need right now.
Yeah. And that's a part of RightTool. Like, we decided that, it would be kind of a lot on the screen if you had two sidebars going on at the same time. And if you're somebody who's like, okay, and once we look into this, you'll see that there's more than just the sidebar to RightTool. If you ever decide that you like the left-hand sidebar, but you like the features of RightTool, there's a little button in the middle right here that takes you to settings. And then inside of here, we can go to QuickBooks User Experience and turn off Auto Close Left Nav. And if we do that, then we can refresh the page, and then this pops up, and now you have the left side.
Window to look.
But you can close this right side toolbar by just clicking on this little arrow at the top, and then that way you can have the left side without the right side. So it's up to you. We're like, it's one of those things that people always tell us is like, when I first started using RightTool, it was a little bit harder to get used to and like use it first. But then once they've used it for like a week, they love it. So the fact that we automatically turn on the left side nav bar closing is just kind of to help people kind of get used to using the right side instead. So, but it is an option there if you ever are like, yes, I hate the right sidebar, I want the left one back. You can just turn that feature off in QuickBooks User Experience.
Okay.
Yeah.
So let's kind of run down, the high level features that you have in the free version.
Yeah. So super quick thing. First off, we have the plus and the gear icon. So these are the staples of any user of QuickBooks. The plus button just opens up the new window over on this side of the screen, and the gear opens up the settings. So they're both right beside each other, so it's nice and easy to access both of them. Mm-hmm. The next thing that I want to go into is this search bar. This is kind of the lifeblood of the right sidebar of RightTool, because of the fact that basically you see down here, there's all shortcuts and all reports. Everything that Hector has ever found inside of QuickBooks Online, he has put into this tool in like a database for people to find. So there's a link to pretty much everything, and we update it whenever any updates for Intuit side come out. So one thing we can do is, like, let's say that I want to see all the unpaid bills. So I just type in unpaid, and as I'm typing, it actually filters through all of the links in QuickBooks Online and populates it. Or let's say I want to look at tags, and then all these tag things show up as I'm typing. And if I want to be more specific, I can be, but it's just showing up there like this. And
does this also have like some of the secret URLs in there, or
yes,
kind of like the more uncommon ones, like manage billable expenses or purge company data, or those types of things that you don't necessarily want to navigate to on a regular basis?
Yeah. Now, I mean, for those, you kind of have to know what you're looking for. Now, there is an entire section of all shortcuts that are called like secret transactions somewhere in here. So if you ever need to, you can look through here and see if there's something that actually fits your needs. Yeah. So yes, it has pretty much everything that's even hidden inside of QuickBooks Online. It's just a matter of knowing what to search for.
Right. Gotta know what you're looking for, rather than stumbling across it. Like, what's this do? Oh,
Yeah.
where'd all my data go?
Which again, if you want to use the all shortcuts and everything, like that could be a good way to kind of figure out what all exists in QuickBooks Online. But this also goes back to the point that this tool is definitely best for pro advisors because you already kind of know what you're looking for. However, it is something that can be used by end users as well to make things a little bit better. But yeah. And then once you're inside of like this search bar, when you search for, let's say, tags, and I want to go to, I would say I want to keep the P&L by tag, and I don't want to constantly have to type in tag every time that I want to do it, I can click on this little star icon right next to it, and it automatically adds it to my favorites, which is the next big thing that I want to show. So right now we're already in favorites, and you can see here at the bottom, we have P&L by tag is now in here. So it's easy to get to without me having to search for it every time. And if I'm somebody who likes to use the P&L by tag a lot, and I don't want to scroll down, what I can do is I can actually take this and drag it and bring it up to the top. And now every time I come in here, it's just automatically at the top. I can just click into it. And that's something I can do. And then once I click on it, RightTool by default opens all of its links on the right side in a new tab so that you don't lose your place in the tab you're working in. Some people really like that. Some people prefer to have everything be in one tab. So this is, again, something where you can actually just go to the settings and go to tab management. And then inside of here, there's a setting called RightTool shortcuts open in a new tab. You just turn that off, and then once I refresh the page, I'm going to close that. Now, whenever I open something, it shows up in the same tab. So it works closer to how QuickBooks Online default works. And if I wanted to open in a new tab, I still could by just right-clicking it and saying open link in new tab. So that's why I personally like it, because then I can choose whether or not I'm opening in a new tab. But some people really love just the fact that you just always open in a tab because they're super obsessed with efficiency and getting everything done without having to press the back button, which I can appreciate. I'm just not that kind of person.
It's not in your core bonkersness, as Hector would call it. He's got a bonkers list of things that drive him crazy. But I mean, I think ultimately the strategy that you have here, is perfect because, you're giving people a preference and a choice in the matter, as opposed to, well, we're just going to change it this way and sucks for you, right? I mean,
yeah. Well, the thing about RightTool is it is such a big part of it adds such a big thing to QuickBooks Online. We would hate for anybody to use it and be like, oh my God, I'm so frustrated with XYZ thing. So we really built it in mind with, if you don't like something, you don't have to use it. The unfortunate side effect of that is that it makes it so we have an options page that looks like this. It has like a billion options. I will say that if you actually go to this video and you look at it, all the options that I find are like the most annoying options are inside of this video. And then everything else we have pretty much turned on by default, what we think people will like. So you don't need to like get crazy into the options. It's mostly a thing where if you're like, man, I'm really frustrated by this, like, oh man, I wish that, QuickBooks had the ability, I don't know, to, let's see, what's a good thing here? Like export journal entries to a CSV file. Then you'd kind of go in here and look for it rather than, going in at the very start and getting everything set up from the beginning. Our goal is that you download it and you can just get up and go. So, yeah.
And then, you've got your favorites there on the right side, and then there's some of them have numbers on them. What does that do?
Yeah. So one of Hector's bonkers things is that he hates clicking. He is somebody who loves efficiency in every way possible. And so what we did is we made keyboard shortcuts in the favorites. So what that means is that, let's say I want to go to the bank register, I can just type, or I can press the buttons Control-Alt-3, and it will automatically take me to the bank register because that 3 is what is next to it in the favorites bar. And the cool thing about this is if you know your favorites bar good enough, you can actually close this out. And even when the right sidebar is closed, I can say, let's say I want to go to the bank feed, I could press Control-Alt-1, and it'll take me to the bank feed even when I don't have the right sidebar open. So just something that can kind of really boost your speed going through things if you memorize those first 10. And by the way, 10 just links to 0 on the keypad. So
yeah.
Some people ask, like, what?
Confused with 1 and 0. How do I?
Yeah.
How do I do it?
Yeah. No. Some people ask
that many
about that.
fingers to to do that keyboard shortcut.
And one thing you'll notice as well
Sure.
is that when I downloaded this, it came with a bunch of put in favorites. If you're like, I don't like some of these, then you can just click on the little star icon that's filled up, and it will remove the favorite from there. So you can kind of clean it up a little bit.
In your screen share, I think that's actually cut off. But what he's mentioning there is over to the right of those. There is a yeah, there we go. Perfect.
Let's bring this over just a little bit. Yeah, it's the size of it is based on screen size. Really? Come on now. I'm trying to get that little bit. You know what? There's that little bit of a thing that you can do to make it so you can expand a screen, but apparently my computer was like, no, I'm not actually going to let you select that. So,
but there is a star over on the right side, and you can deselect it.
Yeah.
Okay, that's the right side of RightTool.
Yeah, the very far right side of RightTool is that one right there.
All right. So
yeah,
what else? Other tools that are in the free version? Because I know you have like your favorite tools or favorite options, and I want to see Carrie's reaction for some of these that we want to go into. But what other areas do you want to chat about?
Well, there's one thing in particular that I just like a lot. It's one of my favorite features, not because of its inherent usefulness, although I do think it is useful, but because it just works so smoothly, and that is inside the chart of accounts. Let's say that I am working inside of here and I'm on the 3rd page, right? And when I'm on the 3rd page, I fix ATM machine. Like, for whatever reason, I'm thinking, man, I wish there was a space at the end of this ATM machines. So I press space and then I save it. And it takes me all the way back to the 1st page at the top of the 1st page of the chart of accounts. And I have to press next in order to get there. So what I do is I press jump to last, and it will actually take me immediately to the correct page, and it will highlight and scroll to the spot that I was just working on. That way it's kind of just easier to get right back into the action and start fixing the chart of accounts from where you were already at. So
that button appears that the red button because of the RightTool thing.
Yeah. And basically that appears anytime you click on a row. So let's say I clicked on Baylor's. Yes, Hector was doing some testing, so he put on just a whole bunch of random stuff into the chart of accounts. But I click on Baylor's, and then let's say I go back up to the top for whatever reason, I could just click this jump to last, and it takes me right to the spot that I last clicked on. So just like an easy way to get back to where you wanted to be.
And is that in all areas, like when there is a list or multiple pages of things, or is it just in the chart of accounts? Or
it's in the chart of accounts, in the vendor and customer detail pages, like when you're actually looking at a customer's transaction list. And it also exists in the receipts page, but it's a little bit weird in there because QuickBooks Receipts is weird. So there's only so much we can do on QuickBooks Receipts side of things, but it is there. It just works a little differently.
But if you're working with customers, like if you're that works with you said with transactions, but if you're like, say if you're modifying your customers
Yeah.
Those types of things. Would it stay there, or would it?
No, it does not. But that's an interesting idea that I will add into my little list of
See,
things.
there we go. Rapid iteration.
So if you pulled up a report like a P&L, and you're trying to see the detail, and you're trying to track down where something isn't matching to a report that you're tying down, and you click it open, and it's got like 20, and you're kind of going down by down, and you're looking at another. So that would pop up where I could fix it, and then it starts me back at the beginning. I'm like, crap, I have to write down where I was. That brings me back, right?
Yeah, well, the funny thing is, and let me go to an actual profit and loss instead of profit and loss by tag, is that there's two things with that actually segues into. There is a setting inside of tab management called Reports Enhanced Drill Down. This is different from RightTool shortcuts open in a new tab, but it kind of has a similar feature, which is that let's say I click on total parent income.
Right.
It opens it in an entirely new tab so that you don't lose your spot in the one that you were in before.
Oh, okay.
And then the same thing will happen. Like, let's say I go to, and you know what, let me close this so I have a little bit more room. Let's say I go into this transaction after scrolling all the way down here, it will open that in a new tab as well. And that way, again, you're kind of in the same spot. Now, what will happen is, let's say that I change this from $50,000 to $50,000.01, and then hope that I don't screw up this entire this entire file. Let's just do that. Sure. And then I'm going to close this. And what happens is, as soon as I close it, it comes back to this page and refreshes. And sometimes, most of the time, it will actually scroll you right back down to where you were.
So if you're like, oh no, I need to put that right back. What the heck? Which one was it?
Yeah. Well, and you know what? Gosh, I'm just getting so many ideas today. Because what I'm thinking.
Why this is a workshop.
Exactly. That's what this is. Every time I get on calls with people, I get an idea some way or another. What would be actually cool, because of the fact that every once in a while, like what it should have done is it should have come back to this page, refreshed it, and then scrolled down. But QuickBooks can be weird sometimes, and I can be weird with how I develop for it. So sometimes everything doesn't go exactly as planned. I think I actually might just add a button up here that's kind of similar to that jump to last, where it will like just be something you can manually press to get back to where you want to be. So that is something I am definitely going to add to it.
Now, another thing is this whole audit log dead end.
Yes.
Let's talk a little bit about that. And the situation is that when you're looking at a transaction and you look at the audit history, or you go into the audit log of that particular transaction, what you end up having is this. I call it the audit log dead end, where it's like you're in there, but you cannot go back to your report because you've now kind of like entered into this roundabout. Where you're just circling around, and unless you know from the back button which screen it actually was, you're just kind of okay. And then most people just go, oh, F it, rerun the report again.
Exactly. Like you just keep pressing X, going back, and it just keeps taking you to the thing. Super annoying. But yeah, then we have this feature. It's automatically turned on. Audit log, new tab. So then if I refresh this page after turning that on, then what you'll notice is when I click audit log, it goes to, like it says, a new tab, so that you basically are circumventing the audit loop that is so frustrating to deal with sometimes. And it's just one of those things that people really like. Because, I mean, if you've ever used the audit log, then you know how annoying it is when you have to kind of get in that loop and you're like, oh, crap, I have to press the back button now, like X number of times.
Right. Exactly. So, or you just you're just there and you can't get out of that.
Yeah. Exactly.
All right. So, and one more thing, the other favorite that you have, there's the showing journal normal balances. What is that?
Yeah, so I'm actually going to come over here. And if you want to, there's this manage tab section. You can press into here and you can see all your tabs. And then I'm going to click close all. And this is very reminiscent of desktop. Like this is
Yes.
directly inspired by desktop. But I'm going to press that close all button.
Carrie's clapping.
As my grandson would say, yay! He's only 2.
Yeah. But yes, if you like that part of desktop, it is in there, the Manage tab section. And what I'm going to go to real quick is journal entry. And then once I'm in here, let's just add in a whole bunch of random things into here. Let's see, bank, sure. And then what I want to do is, let's say I'm like, I don't know what eBay managed payments bank account really means in terms of like what account type it is, but I know I need to get it down by, let's say, $100. Then instead of doing a thing that sometimes people do where you like put all the debits and credits in and then you save it and then you look at the report and you see if it's correct, what we added in is a little button up top here that looks like a bunch of arrows, and it actually gives you a visualization of what debits and credits go up and down for that account. So if I'm like, I need to bring eBay managed payments down by $100, I can press credits. And I know like from the get-go that that's where I need to be. So something that's helpful for that, and helpful for people who are just a little newer to the accounting sphere and are still kind of getting used to their.
You don't have to go back to Accounting 101 class in college to is it Alice? You know what?
Oh, is Alice what you learned? Oh, I don't. Oh my God, I don't even remember.
I actually made up one because I never went to accounting school. But when they were teaching us accounting, you know, like the fundamentals of accounting in my new hire training, they talked about Alice, and I was like, I don't like Alice. I said DIAX, debits increase assets and expenses. So that was my own nomenclature of trying to figure out which is a debit and a credit and which goes up and which goes down.
That's funny, right? Because even though I didn't use that like, oh my God, I'm just having a mnemonic device. I did have that same like attitude when it came to every time I thought about debits and credits, I'd be like, okay, is it an asset or is it an expense? If so, it's a debit. So yeah, that's kind of how I did it too.
But a nice arrow is just alleviates all of that, having to recall all of that stuff. Anything else, Mark, that you want to highlight? I know we're a little bit over on our time here, but
this is super important. Something I always forget when I get on these calls, which is that when you are in the settings, which again, just one more time, just to show how you get to it, this middle button that looks like a wrench and a screwdriver, is when you're in settings and you're like, what the heck does this feature do? And you want to know before you actually use it. We have these little eye icons on the right side of all of our features that has a little blurb that tells you what it does, and then a video either made by Hector or myself that explains what it does and like shows it so that you know exactly what is supposed to happen. So that is something that is important.
I mean, it's great that you and Hector have teamed up, and he's very passionate about teaching people how to use stuff that you've incorporated that into your own product. And this is all the free stuff, right? Like this is there's no cost to use to do all the things that we just talked about here today. There is a paid version, and we'll talk about that with Hector next week. Kind of go through some of those more tools that you can actually do. And there was something I was going to say and I forgot it.
It's okay. It happens to me Carrie, all the time.
Yeah, Carrie, what initial thoughts? Right, like you've just seen it for for the first time for most of this stuff. What did you think?
I think it's super cool. I'm just I love all the way that it can help you organize, because I do I'm used to desktop, and I can do all kinds of cool things in desktop, so I can see where Hector's ideas have come out. And I love that close. I go to that all the time. I go to back. Oh, I need to go back to that. I don't want to start fresh and figure out how to get from here to here. And so there's a lot of things I do in desktop. I'm glad to see that translated because I do struggle and I hate that open a new tab. I'm like, I don't do that. I have 1,000 tabs open as I say that. So maybe I need to embrace the new ways. Who knows? I'm all over the place. But good work. That's the free version. That's huge help. Huge help. So I can't wait.
And
What's
yeah, and
the next level?
yeah, so we'll look forward to seeing what actually you can do in the paid version. But I know there's a lot of value there, especially for accountants. That are working
that's where the really fun, crazy stuff starts happening is inside the pro version. Like this, like I like to say that I love the free version. I think it by itself is really useful, but the pro versions where you get into some of the crazier things, it's like what?
But anything to save time, because when you feel like we're all trying to automate and save time and not use our, we can use our brains for other things than clicking and being being like that through the software. So this is great. It can make you bounce around in those places you go all the time without having to figure out the workarounds that, this keeps it all in one spot. I like that.
So thank you, Mark, for joining us on the workshop. I know we went a little over here, but we had a lot of things to
talk about
to cover. So we'll dive in next week for the RightTool Pro, the paid version of RightTool, and see what that can do. And we appreciate you joining us here today, Mark.
Yeah, thanks for joining, and we'll see you next week. And have a great week.
Yeah, have a great week, guys. I look forward to meeting up with you again. Make it a weekly thing.
That's right.
That's right. All right. Take care, everybody.